Okay, can you guys hear me there? Can anybody hear me? Cool. All right, so sorry about the other URL not working. I had forgot to change the latency on the stream, so I would have been 30 seconds ahead of you, which is not very interactive. So I had to create another one where I'm only about 3 seconds ahead of you. All right, so last time we were looking at, what do we got? We were looking at, oh, hold on, what do you guys see right now? Nothing. You just see, yeah, you're not supposed to see that screen. Aish. Okay, so how are we going to fix this? I guess I could just put everything on that screen over there. That'll fix it. Okay, so that means I probably want to pull this guy back to this screen. Hey, come on. There. And then I don't know where the YouTube went, because I need that to see your questions. There it is. Okay, and then let me just make a minor adjustment to my layout so I can see your questions. Sorry, it's streaming the wrong screen. I have two screens and it's doing not the one I intended, but we'll just go with it rather than try to fix it. Okay, so again, reminder, I'm streaming in 1080p, so if you got a blurry screen, switch it over to 1080p. So last time we were looking at continuous integration, and then we were going to add on continuous deployment, but we didn't quite get there. So our goal in everything we do in this class, or at least the majority of it up until now, has been to make everything automated, repeatable, and verifiable. So the idea behind using continuous integration is we're going to integrate into our workflow that our toolchain runs all of the things we want it to run. So that's the automated part. And it's going to do it completely independently, so it doesn't need input from us. That's the repeatable part. And then it's going to produce some results that we can then examine to check for correctness, and that's the verifiable part. So basically, whatever we push into our repository, it's going to run this tool chain and verify that it meets our minimum requirements. So for continuous integration, that means to automatically run our build, so our compiler to move from TypeScript to JavaScript, to run the linter, which is going to check for errors, and it's also going to reformat the code to be in the format that we want, to run all of the tests, and then finally to merge whatever branch we're working on as a feature branch or a hotfix branch or whatever into the master. Let me start a login process while we're going over this review stuff. Okay, that is the wrong slide. All right, so our tool chain is TypeScript to convert our TypeScript files into JavaScript. Our linter is ESLint with a plugin to make it support TypeScript, so it's not just for JavaScript. Jest is our testing framework, so that is how we write our tests, and it has various plugins as well. Should mention that ESLint also has a plugin for code formatting. And then our source control system is Git. So Git has quite a bit of support for continuous integration. On the client side, we have these things called hooks. So you can change the configuration of your local repository to do certain things on certain events. So before you make a commit, it could automatically run the compiler and the linter and the tests to make sure that there's no problem. So we could have set that up, but we got to limit what we're going to cover so that we get at least a high-level view of everything. Okay, then next, what we would do is, oh yeah, so the other part of continuous integration and the part we're focusing on is in the upstream repository or the remote. So that is GitLab itself in our case. And it might be GitLab or GitHub if you're in a small development shop. But if you're in a large corporate shop, they probably have their own server running Git, and it's either going to be running a version of GitHub or GitLab most likely, unless for whatever reasons you are locked into a particular vendor. So on GitLab, so let's log into that too. And while I'm here, I'll start this one. So where are we? GitLab. Okay, we'll just wait for that. Ugh, I gotta get rid of this. I keep clicking on it. It has these idea of pipelines. So these pipelines are continuous integration pipelines. And they're basically going to automatically do stuff on a push and kind of on a merge, but a merge is like a change. Well, let's just put this change here, put in brackets. So it's some kind of change to branches. And what it's going to do is it is going to run our toolchain. And we're going to add a continuous deployment right after. All right, so the workflow that we're going to adopt when we're using this tool, and I hope that you saw me use it a couple of times last time, is to create a change request in our issue tracker. So that was, where are we, projects? That's not the one I want. That's the one I want. Okay. So what I did was I went into the Issues tab on the project, and then I opened various issues. So you saw me open issue 1 and 2. I've added a third issue for this project. Okay, and as soon as it comes up, yeah, okay. It says in the CI/CD pipeline, the find command in the build script fails on Alpine OS, which is what we are using as our test environment. So we need our build environment to be reproducible and repeatable. So to do that, we standardized on this image called Node 12 Alpine. So it's a version of, well, it's a Node 12 image, so it's from the Node project, but it's running on top of the Alpine operating system, which is a very, very stripped down version of Linux. And that's retrieved from Docker. And you can see it sets up very quickly. If you'd used Ubuntu, it would take a lot longer to download the image and to set it up and start it running. So that's why we're using Alpine. And also because it's so stripped, we know that there's no other strange services running on it. So it's completely within our control. But anyways, it says here, BusyBox's find doesn't support the regex type option. So there's this error line in the script, or actually that's the line that is failing. So in the clean test target, we're running this command, find build regex type POSIX extended, and then there's the regular expression, and then we're telling it to delete. So the problem that we were having on Cloud 9 with the linter getting angry and putting red squigglies under things is because the project was set up with two different linting profiles. So one was for when we do a build, and it pushes it into production, and the other one was for when we do a lint. So, or sorry, not when it pushes it in production, but when it does a build. And the reason for that is the build didn't actually build the tests because our testing framework has a transpiler, so it can translate TypeScript into JavaScript automatically. And that way we didn't pollute our output directory for the build with all of the test files. Because what we're going to do is we're just going to take that and push it into production. And we don't want our test files to go into production. So that made Cloud 9 angry because it didn't handle that very well. Okay. So the other solution was, okay, well, we'll just build everything with one profile, and then Cloud 9 was happy. But then we had all these test files in our build directory, and we didn't want them. So my solution was, well, I'll just use find to find all of the test files and delete them. Okay, so I was expecting a GNU find, which is an implementation of the find tool that supported this option here. And apparently the one that is installed on Alpine does not support that option. So I got two possible fixes listed. We can switch it to use the GNU find utilities package, which would have the GNU version of find. Or we could just drop this option and then verify that it is working properly with extended regular expressions, because the round brackets and the OR operator here and the question operator there, and of course those round brackets as well, those are only supported in extended regular expressions. So I'm concerned that the BusyBox version of find might not support extended regular expressions. So, and here is the full log of the build process, and we can see here, find is angry, it doesn't understand this option, and it lists out all the options it supports. And then it failed. Okay. It continued to run the build process though because of the way that the target is set up. So I'll open that up so we can see why the build kept going even though that substep failed. And let's take a look at this guy while we're waiting. So I'm just going to watch for this to finish. And as soon as it finishes, I'll go to it. All right. So in here, we have our package.json. Again, I'll just wait for it to finish. Oh, it looks like it won the race. All right, so it was in the clean test that was the problem. Here, it runs the find utility, right, like that, and then who is calling clean test? Build TSC and then npm run test. Where is test? There is jest. Who is calling this? Let's go back to the log to find it. Okay, it says, oh, there it is. npm run clean test, and there's a semicolon to run the linter. So it ran this command, and then it ignored if it succeeded or failed because of the semicolon. And then it just ran the linter. So we should probably fix that while we're at it. I would have preferred the whole build to fail so that this little error isn't, silently hiding here. I only noticed because I looked at the output and saw, oh, that shouldn't be there. All right. So where is our, oh, that's the issue right here. Okay. So let's go back to slides. Right. So the way we're going to do this workflow using a GitLab as our issue tracker itself is we're going to create a change request in the issue tracker. Now I've already gone ahead and done that for issue number 3 right after our last lecture, or at least a couple days after it. And this is still loading. Oh my gosh. Let's try a refresh there. Okay, and so our workflow, again, we're going to create a change request in our issue tracker. So there's a couple kinds of change requests that can be created, but basically they fall into 2 categories. One is a new feature, and the other is a fix. So a bug fix, basically. Right. So once we have our issue in our issue tracker, we're going to create a branch for the change. So all the changes related to the code related to this change request will be done on that branch. So let's just go ahead and do that. We've got an open issue, and I can't do it right now because I'm not logged in, so I'll just log myself in. I swear I did that already. All right, and then in practices. Sign in. Oh, come on. Why aren't you green? Okay, there we go. I'll just wait for things to finish populating. Okay, so down here I can create a merge request. So the workflow that I recommend we follow is this. We'll create the issue, and then immediately after that we'll create the branch. So a lot of developers would do it slightly differently, but this makes a really good integration with the tool. So you can see it automatically prefaces the branch with the issue number and then the description. Some places would want you to say like feature whatever. I'm not going to change it because I don't want to lose any of the tool integration, and I don't want to play around with it to see if it works anyways because we're on a limited time frame here. So create a merge request and the branch, or just the branch. Let's do both. So we're going to branch off of master, and we're going to create this guy with that name. All right, so we can see here it's gone ahead and created this merge request. So this is the recommended GitLab workflow, and I like it as well, but it's marked it as work in progress. and it says it'll close number 3. So it'll close issue 3. So as long as it's marked as work in progress, the framework is not going to try to tell anyone to do this merge. Right, so we're going to work on this branch and we'll eventually push to it, and when we're done, we're going to change it so it's no longer a work in progress. Okay, so it says we've got to fix this find problem. No problem. Let's start up. Eventually we'll get to Cloud 9. And I don't know, do I want to jump ahead? No, I'll wait for Cloud 9 so that everything is exactly the same. So many buttons to click. Okay, Cloud 9. So I want to get the continuous deployment working, and then we'll start talking about Scrum. Almost there. Actually, it's almost there. I was just thinking if I should do this. Well, actually, I think I will do it locally because there was all that lag last time that was a severe problem. So we'll try to do this locally. I'll go into my dev folder, and then I have that project. It is week 9, so CD week 09, CICD. Okay, and then I want to make sure I'm up to date, so I'll just do a git pull quickly. Permanently added, doodly-doo. Okay, so it created a new branch for this issue that I'm working on, and that is a super long branch name. So no one will ever accuse us of not using descriptive variable names or something like that. And I'm going to start up my editor, because if I'm working locally, I might as well use all the advantages of working locally. Okay, and oh, before I bring it over there, I gotta close what I was working on. Okay, week 9, there we go. All right. Okay, so let's bring up the command line again. And okay, so I want to switch to this branch so I can do the work. So we'll do a git checkout. That's my alias for checkout, and we shall switch to the branch for issue 3. And now I've got that horribly long prompt, but we'll just deal with it. And I guess I'll stretch this out so it almost fits. There. All right, so let's take a look. And there we are. We're working in this directory. And I'm going to go review the issue so that I know what I'm working on. Hey, where's my web browser? There it is. Okay. All right, so we're working on number 3. Oh yeah, the problem was find. So we should fix that. All right, so problem was find. Where's my tool? There it is. All right, so that means I want to edit the continuous integration script. And oh no, I don't, because it is in package.json. There we go. So the problem is clean test right there, line 13. It's using, well, I expected the version of Find to support this. So I don't really have an alternative here, so I'm going to try to just delete that line and see if it runs the way I want it to, or if it doesn't. And then we'll proceed with the next issue. The other change I wanted to make was this guy here. That shouldn't be a semicolon. I want that to be an and. I only want the thing on the right to run if the thing on the left succeeded. Okay, so post build TypeScript, it's going to get rid of the tests. So I'm going to rename this guy to clean test so it doesn't look like it's a clean for the test target. Okay. All right, and then we'll clean the tests, and then we'll run the linter. Maybe we should run the linter first. Yeah, I think it makes more sense to run the linter first. Because then even if this part fails, we have at least nicely linted output. Okay. Is it used anywhere else? Doesn't look like it. Okay, So there's my change to package.json, and I hope that fixes the problem. So we're going to come back to the little terminal here, and we'll make sure that it works locally first. npm run rebuild. Nope, didn't like it. Rimraf, I gotta do an install. npm install. I should start installing some of this stuff globally, so I don't have to do this so much. While that's going, was I waiting for any logins anywhere? No, looks like I'm logged in everywhere. All right, so let's follow the workflow. So I'm now on the branch. Excuse me. I should be following TDD to implement the change requests. While I do have my build scripts, that's kind of the driver I've got. I mean, if I was going to be completely automated about it, I would write something to test that this worked, but I'm not going to do that because this is going to be once it works kind of thing. Right, then we'll make commits as we need, and then we'll push it when we're done. Okay. Still installing. Hey, how's it going? Wow, there's a lot of things it needs to install. OMG. Okay, somebody's trying to dig in the couch. Okay, we're caught up. All right, excuse me. So, we're going to run it. npm run rebuild. Oh my goodness, so slow. Right, because the stream has taken all my CPU. So what's worse, slow CPU or lag? I don't know. Okay, so then it's going to run the stuff I wanted it to do. And then all of this stuff should work because we're not really messing with any of that. Okay, so let's just go and inspect the output to see that it worked or if it didn't work. So I'm just going to, where's refresh? There's no refresh button. Yikes. Okay, there's the build folder. Inside of build, I don't see any tests anywhere. Oh, they're still there. Okay, it didn't, oh wait. Yep, that didn't work. Bummersville. All right, so the version of Find that I'm using does not support extended regular expressions unless you explicitly tell it that there are extended regular expressions. All right, so this is a little annoying. So now I've got to figure out another way to do this. I think I'm going to go back to the option I was expecting, and I'm just going to install the tool that I want on the Alpine install, because I don't want to spend forever tracking this down. So there's going to be our command right there. And then I'll go back here and paste it in place. I think I'd grab the quote. Yep, okay, so there it is. So that doesn't work on Alpine. What are you doing back there? She's trying to dig behind me. Okay, so I got to test that locally. So we'll run it. Okay, and then we'll just do a regular build. Okay, so after I push this, I'll try doing everything on Cloud 9, because this is a little annoying. All right, so it ran clean tests. Hold on. Okay, so it ran clean tests, and we should be able to check to see if those tests are still there or not. So we'll go into build, and nothing in there, and we'll go into sum, and nothing in there. So, okay, it deleted the tests as it was supposed to. Okay, but that's not going to run on the Alpine servers. So the next fix I'm going to do, or I'm going to attempt, is the continuous integration script right here. When it's doing the build, I am going to have it install the GNU version of find. So we'll just go here and, oh man, what is it? I think it's called APK on that software. So we'll do an APK update. Okay, and that probably has to be sudo. And I missed the hyphen. The hyphen's important. We'll do a sudo APK update and a sudo APK install. And then I'll grab it from the issue description to make sure I have it spelled correctly. This guy, and it's called findutils. All right, so this should install a version of find that will be fine with what we just did. Okay, so we'll install findutils. And does it need me to say -yes? Probably not. I hope it doesn't anyways. All right, so that should be fine. So we're going to install the findutils, and then it's going to run npm install to install all the node stuff, and then it's going to rebuild it and produce the build stuff. Okay, so we'll do that. And also down here, I'm going to still throw in the thing where I want this to fail. I don't want it to actually try to deploy yet. Actually, no, that's fine. Okay, so thank you. Yeah, I know, I haven't paid for you. And I'm just going to throw a comment here, find, okay, wait, to get find with EREs. That's why. Okay. Okay. That looks good. So it worked locally. I just modified the continuous integration script. I'm just going to double check it to make sure nothing looks funny. All right, that looks okay. So we'll go back to the command line and we'll check the status. So I modified package.json to make it a conditional and, so that if that fails, then the whole script will fail and the build will fail, and then we can fix it. And then we've also modified the continuous integration thing. Let's see the diff just to be sure. So we added that one to install the package, and then that guy down there got changed. Oh yeah, I called it tests instead of test. Okay, and then that no longer says test, it says tests, and I flipped the order, which is exactly what I wanted. All right, so we'll do a commit. We'll just do it like, oh, I gotta do an add first, don't I? Git add, git commit, and this is gonna be up here, it's gonna be a fix for issue number 3. And it's going to be fix find to support EREs. Right, and I'm going to say that that was install find utils, and that was by GNU. So the GNU find utils, and let me make sure that that is what it is actually called. Yep, find utils. Okay, so Control X, yes. Okay, so now we've got this commit, and I'm going to push it into the upstream. So that will push it onto this particular branch. All right, so let's see what's happening on GitLab. So over here is GitLab. There's the issue. There's the merge request. I would like to see what's going on in the pipelines, because it should have created a new pipeline. All right, so the latest is up here. And you can tell, well, I think it's running right now because there's nothing posted there. So that's for that commit, and I would like to see that pipeline as it goes. So I'm just going to click on it. You can see there it's running. Okay, I'm just going to check the job. So this is the actual instance of build that's now running. So it's running on their environment. It's called a test runner. So they have a ton of virtual machines that run these things. And this is it executing live. Uh-oh, sudo is not found. Okay, so that's a bug. And, well, I mean, if sudo is not found, then it didn't install. So I should probably just stop this. So we'll cancel this instance. All right, so we're going to have to make a change. So let's go back to local, and we're going to change it so it doesn't use sudo. Not quite sure what to do if it doesn't have sudo. Maybe everything runs as root by default. I don't know. We'll find out. So we'll try to just run apk without sudo. And I mean, that was a worthless commit, so I'm actually just going to replace that commit. So we'll do a git add, and then we'll do a git commit amend. Keep the same message. So that old commit is gone, and I have a new commit, and you can see I've diverged from the upstream, so we could take a look at the log. You can see here is the upstream branch on the one that I just pushed previously, and here is my new commit. So I've dropped D98 from my own local source tree, and I want to replace the remote with this one. So I'll do that. We'll do a git push force. All right, so then we'll check the log again. And now we have on that branch, locally, we've got the one I'm working on, and then on the remote, it's the same. It's working on that one too. All right, so since that was a push, it should be running a new continuous integration. Let's go back and check it out. So there it is there, it's running. You can see the one I canceled is right below it. Let me try to free up some CPU. Pop the chat out into its own window and then minimize everything. All right. Oh no, job failed. Where did you fail? Install is not an APK command. All right, now we got to Google to figure out how do we use APK. So this is the Alpine package, P-A-C-K-H-E manager. I was thinking it would work like APT, but apparently it doesn't. All right, the Alpine Linux package manager. Oh, and that would be useful too. Add, apparently it's add. Okie doke. Anything else I need to know? Nope, just that it's add. All right. So it's not install, it is add. Okay, and then we will overwrite that commit again because the one I gave it was useless. I think the ferret just stole, yep, she just stole a can. Okay, we'll commit it, overwrite the old one, then we'll do a push force. Okay, now that thing should be running another continuous integration. So let's go back to the jobs. And let's watch it, see if it works. Okay. Yeah, there's going to be a midterm still happening, and I'll post it pretty soon because it's got to be before next Saturday. It'll be a take home, do at home kind of thing. All right, so the code's running. Cool. There's the build. Okay. Okay, so clean test didn't fail, so that's good. Because last time it did. Then it's running the test for colors, and it's just got this in red because it was slow, because it was the first time it's ever run tests. And finally, we've got job succeeded. Okay, so that it looks like it's fixed. So no errors, and everything is great. Okay, so let's go look at well, that was the only step in the pipeline, but I'll just pull it up so we can see it. And there it says it passed, and it only has one stage because if we look at our continuous integration script, this guy here, build runs for every branch because there's no restrictions on it. So it ran those 3 commands, and then so the rebuild included running the linter and running the tests and all that. But this guy down here, the one that's supposed to deploy it to production, it says it only runs on the master branch. So only on master will this occur. All right, so let us work on that. So we've got to merge in that fix I just made into our master branch. So there's the issue. Here's the merge request. So you can see it's got a couple of commits on it, and these ones won't be reachable because I overwrote them, but they're still in the log here. So I thought there was a button somewhere that said, there it is, resolve work in progress status. Okay, so I'm just going to click that so it's no longer marked as a work in progress, and I shall reload it. Okay, so now it's got this big button merge, and it says it'll delete the source branch. Let's have a look at the issue over here. It's got this really long description of the issue, and then we can see there is a related merge request, and it says it's going to resolve this particular thing. Cool. So let's go back to the merge request. You can see that it's no longer work in progress. It now says resolve. So it's going to resolve that issue. So the only thing to do is to click the merge button. Normally, you would have some other developer review these changes, and they would be responsible for clicking merge. But since I'm the only developer on this project, I guess I'm going to click merge. And again, note it does say delete source branch. So on the upstream server, so on GitLab, it is going to remove the branch number 3. Okay, so it looks like the merge went through. Let's go look at the issue. I'll just reload it. Okay, and you can see that it's been closed by this merge request. Wasn't aware that it was live updating, so I didn't need to reload it. It's been closed by that merge request, and you can see there's some commits that refer to it. So one should be my commit, this one here, cdcc, that's that one, and this one should be the merge commit. Yeah, you can see there it says merge branch 3 into master. Right, so let's take a look at my local log. I'm going to do a git fetch. Oops, there we go. There we go. Okay. So there's a change to master, as you can see. So I'll do a git co master, and then we'll do a git log. Okay, so the origin master is moved up there. And it looks like I'm still back here because I did a fetch instead of a pull. And then on the remote, it's still showing this guy, even though I clicked delete. Oh, that's because I did not update my local branches. Okay, so I'm going to do a git pull. And I'm going to do a -d, I believe. No, that's not it. It's prune. Prune. Did you mean it with 2? Yes, I did. So that will remove my tracking branch. So now it says locally there's no branch corresponding to this guy because it got deleted. All right, and there's the changes that was made to master. Let's check the log. Okay, now I'm up here on this guy, and you can see I still locally have this branch, but it's no longer on the origin. So I'm going to get rid of that. So we'll do a git branch delete, and it's branch number 3. And then we'll check the log again. Log, there we go. And now we're all up and in sync. So there's the fix for issue number 3 to make find support extended regular expressions. Okay. So we got one more issue. We want to make continuous deployment work. So we'll go into issues and create an issue for that. Probably because if we go check on Cloud 9, oh no, we need to check on this thing. Let's check the pipeline for that last merge that we just did, because it should have ran the continuous integration tools for it. All right, so this was a push I made on branch number 3, and everything was great. But then when it made the merge commit on master, it was going to, well, it did run the continuous integration tools again, but because it was on master, it then tried to do the deployment step, and you can see that it failed. Okay, so we'll click on that to find out why. It's because we haven't put any of our options in to control how that works. So you can see down here, it's installing the things necessary for Ruby, then it's installing the deployment tool, and then it tries to run the deployment tool, and it says invalid option app equals blank. So it does mention a variable here, but we never set that variable. So in the shell world, when you have an unset variable, it comes back as the empty string. So we literally ran it as dpl -- provider equals Heroku space -- app equals, and then empty space -- API key equals, and then empty again. All right, so it didn't run because we never provided this app ID or the API key to push it into production. All right, so let us solve that. So we're going to have to log into Heroku to get those options. Heroku. And while we're doing that, I'll make another issue for issue number 4. So we're going to make CD work. Actually, we shouldn't use acronyms. Continuous deployment. So CD work for Heroku. Okay, and I don't think it needs a description longer than that, so I'll just copy that and paste it there, and I'll assign it to myself. Okay, submit the issue. And then while that's happening, I shall log in to Heroku. That's great. All right. Ugh. Probably because I just copy pasted. Waiting for Heroku to start. All right, so while that's going on, actually, we've got some slides to look at. So we created the merge request automatically when it created the branch for the change request. So those two got merged. Then what's supposed to happen, as I mentioned, somebody is supposed to come along and review the merge request, the continuous integration results to make sure that it passed, the issue or the change request, and then the commits and the changes to make sure that it looks like it actually did solve this problem, and that there are tests for it, and that it follows good coding practices and all that kind of stuff. And then they can comment on the merge request or the issue however they feel necessary, and eventually somebody will be brave and push the merge button if they think it's all good. So that's this step down here. So when you press that, the issue is going to be closed, and there was a check mark to delete the branch on the origin. And then because that involves a commit to the master branch, it's going to run all the continuous integration tools again for the master branch. And then if you have continuous deployment, it will run the continuous deployment tools, which is what we're fixing right now. All right, so I've been talking about continuous deployment. There's also this thing called continuous delivery. So we'll talk about continuous delivery first, because this is sort of where things usually start off before you move to continuous deployment. So we'll just talk about what the difference is. So when you're using a continuous delivery system, you have your development loop where you're developing software and you're delivering that software. So there's a delivery step. So dev is going to continuously deliver builds to the deployment loop over here. And you know what, I think I should capitalize that guy. So that's the continuous delivery part. So typically this development loop will be anywhere from 2 weeks to 2 months. Shorter is better, and we'll talk about that later. But it's going to kick out something that can be delivered to this deployment loop. The intent of the deliveries here from the development loop is that every commit on master is deployable. So you could choose any arbitrary commit that's on the master branch, and then that thing should be ready for production. Right. But what's going to happen in continuous delivery is this deployment loop on the right is going to evaluate the build that was delivered by the dev loop through continuous delivery to determine if it should be deployed or not. And that's always going to involve a human decision. Well, always, if you're using this model instead of continuous deployment, then it's probably because there is a human decision in this loop. So the steps that might occur in the deployment loop, these are all going to be organization specific, because the organization is going to have its own rules for what gets deployed or when something's ready for deployment. So there might be additional quality assurance steps. So if you have a separate quality assurance group, they're going to then run all of their tests on it and do whatever they do. It may involve requiring sign-offs from various people, so project managers or product managers might have to sign off on, yes, this particular delivery from development is good enough to push into production. There's probably going to be packaging steps, so they're going to take the raw build files provided by the developers, and then they're going to package it in whatever format it needs to be in. So that whole removing the tests from the build folder, that would be a packaging step. And if we're talking about Java apps, web apps, or what have you, so Java web service, let's say, it's going to be either bundled up into an EAR file or a WAR file and that kind of stuff. But really, these continuous delivery loops, this deployment loop over here on the right, it normally corresponds to you using what's called semantic versioning. So this is versioning with version numbers. So if this is version 1.1.0, then they make the decision, is this delivery going to be 1.1.0, or do we wait for the next one, or do we use a previous one, or whatever. Right, so whatever pops out of this deployment loop, it's probably going to use semantic versioning with version numbers. So continuous delivery is likely to be used by a traditional software development shop that's trying to be agile. So they have their previous waterfall-based release model where it's got specifications up front, and then design, and then implementation, and then testing, and then deployment, and then operations and maintenance. Right, so they're trying to shoehorn agile into this kind of waterfall framework. And they're not really willing to let go of the control that they have on controlling when things make it into production. So that's usually what happens. They have a lot of legacy stuff that they're not willing to let go of, like processes that they want, like somebody has to sign off and it has to go through QA and blah, 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 blah. The problem with this is that the delays caused in the deployment loop are going to lengthen the feedback that developers get from customers. So this development loop could be running every 2 weeks, But if this deployment loop is 6 months, which wouldn't be unheard of, that would be on the long side. But I think 2 months or 1 month would be fast for one of these deployment loops. 2 months is probably more realistic and probably more common. Then that means, our developers don't get feedback from the customers for at least 2 months. And that's really going to hurt the agility. So in reality, if you are doing this deployment loop, there's going to be a lot of things involved in it, like these things up here. So the goal of an agile development model is to move things from the deployment loop into the development loop. So for example, if QA has to run their own tests, well, why aren't those our tests? Right? They should be in our tests. If they're acceptance tests, then we should be having those acceptance tests, or we should push them down to the unit level so that they can run automatically. Right? If we need 10 different people to sign off on it, why do we need 10 different sign-offs? Can we eliminate those 10 different sign-offs? Can we make it just like the product owner has to sign off on it, and he's already part of the development loop if we're doing Scrum? Like that kind of stuff. And if we want to be totally agile, we're going to completely eliminate the deployment loop. And when that happens, you get continuous deployment. So here we have our development loops doing whatever our development loop does, and whenever they make a commit to master, it automatically gets deployed. So every change on master gets deployed into the production environment. That requires a discipline that everything on master is production ready. But if we go back here, the intent was everything on master is production ready anyways. Right, but down here, they really have to be, because there's nobody to catch the error anymore. And frankly, you shouldn't be putting out builds that you think might have errors. And the thing with another feature of continuous deployment is it's going to be completely automated. And that's what this next issue that we're working on in GitLab is doing. It says make continuous deployment work for Heroku. Right, and that's issue number 4. So I'm going to go ahead and create the merge request for it. And then we'll try working on Cloud9 and dealing with the lag. Okay, so we'll just switch into week 09, and then we'll do a pull. Okay, so we can see that our master has been updated, and now we have this new branch for issue number 4. So we'll do a git co for branch 4. Oh, lag's not so bad today. All right, so now we're in number 4. Let me make sure I'm editing the right one. Okay, so there it is. So we want to make continuous deployment work. Okay, so I actually don't think we need to make any changes in the code base. So what have we got? It does that to do the find. Here's the deployment stuff. Let's take a look at that pipeline to see exactly where it failed. So we might actually get to change or close this without a merge. So that'll be interesting, because it's just configuration we need to do on GitLab. Okay, well that's not still running. That should be done by now. Why is that running? No idea what's going on there. Oh, that's for number 4, right, because I created a new branch. But it doesn't have its own commit ID. Whatever. The tool decided to run it. All right, so let's take a look at the failure here so we can see exactly where it failed again. It was because that variable wasn't set. All right. Well, let's open this application. All right, so we need to set these 2 variables, Heroku app production and Heroku API key. Okay, so in Heroku, I think I'm going to delete this project, and then we'll just start a new one. How do I get rid of you? Settings, probably. Yes, okay. Where is the big button? There it is, delete app. Great. So you have to type the application's name, which is great because I wanted to copy it anyways. We'll delete it. All right, so Heroku is our production deployment environment. So this is a set of servers somewhere that's going to expose our web app to the world. So I'll create an application name, and I'll just leave it as United States. I'm not going to create a pipeline on Heroku because we already have our pipeline on GitLab. Just create this application. Okay. So you can see it has integration with GitHub. We're not using GitHub though. And then it wants me to install a command line tool. I'm not going to do that. I am going to use the deployment tool. Okay, so let's go back to the overview, and everything looks fine. Let's go back to resources, dynos. These are what they call their virtual machines. I'm looking for the deployment keys. Metrics, no, it's not going to be in there. Access, probably. Nope. Activity, of course it'll be under settings, right? The very last place I look. All right, okay. There is the URL. Okay, build packs, SSL. So I'm pretty sure it's under that button that I just blew past. I just want to see what else is here. All right, so there are no variables. What? Eesh, no slugs. Build packs, SSL certificates, domains. Aish, where are they? No configuration variables. Okay. Let's look at this again. I must have missed it. Manage access. I don't think it's under there. Yikes. Resource. Okay. I think I just need to grab the API key, and that's I'm guessing it's under my account settings since I can't find it here. There it is. Cool beans. So I'll just bring this one back to the application, and then we'll regenerate the API key. Yeah, do it again. Regenerate. Thank you. And then you'll all see it. So this is a secret you would normally keep secret, but I will regenerate it again after the video so that nobody can do anything funny. Right, so that's the API key. And from our build script, we see it's supposed to be in this variable called Heroku API key. So I'm just going to copy that variable name. And in Cloud9, I'm going to go down to settings. And we're going to look at CI/CD. Okay. There's a section called variables. I'm going to expand it. And then it's going to be a variable. And the key for that variable is going to be that. No $, though. All right, and then the value is going to be that API key. So we're going to grab this again. Okay, and I'm going to paste it right there. I'm going to say that it's protected and masked. So masked means it will not show up in the log. And protected, I believe, means that it can't be changed, but you'd have to read the documentation to be sure. Okay, so we need one more variable, which is this guy, the Heroku app production. Okay, so that is going to be the application name on Heroku. So we'll paste that guy there, and the name is this one, I think. I lost. There we go. Okay, then, oh, there it is. We'll paste that guy there. This one, we'll protect it, but we won't mask it. It's okay if people see it, because, I mean, well, maybe we don't want them to see it, so I'll mask it too. Okay, it says all environments. We haven't set up any environments, so that's fine. That's the stuff that's up here. That's fine though. Okay, save variables. So somebody asked, I think Bruno asked a long time ago, where do you put those variables that are in the .env file? So here is where they go. They go in here if you don't have a .env file. So in production, we're not going to use .env. We're going to put stuff here into these variables. Okay. So I'm going to click Save if I haven't already. All right. And then we've got this deployment job that failed. So I'm just going to retry it to see if that fixed it. check it out. It actually says deploying application. So that's great. So it ran my line here, and because I masked those variables, we can't see their values, we just see the variable names. It installed some dependencies. Checking for app, and okay. And we got some feedback. So this is what's happening on the Heroku servers. Right, so Heroku has detected that it's a Node.js app. So it's going to choose the appropriate image and run the appropriate triggers. Ideally, we would like to eliminate this and control it ourselves, but that would involve building a Docker container and then pushing that Docker container to Heroku, which is not something I want to do. Uh-oh, cannot log after tests are done. Did you forget to wait for something or async in your tests? Entirely possible. So that would be something to investigate later. And actually, well, we didn't need these tests to run either, but it's because Heroku is running our build step. See right here, it says it's running the build. This is the thing we'd want to eliminate. We'd want to control it with a Docker image. Are you done? Because I think the test is the last thing that happens. Oh, yeah, I did a refresh, but it looks like it's doing stuff. Okay, Okay, job succeeded. So it got pushed to production, and it should be live. Okay, so let's just check the pipeline to see what's going on there. Okay, it passed. Great. So if we go back to the overview of this application, I can see now there's the build that it did, and then up here it says that it is running, so it's deployed. Okay, so let's try to open this application. We'll do it right there. So I'll get rid of that. Open the application. And it says error cannot get / that's totally fine because we didn't have anything at that URL. It was at sum. And now you can see there's the error message for if you don't call sum correctly. So that's great. Let's give it nums equals 1 plus 2 plus 3. And we can see we get an object back that says the sum is 6. Let's just add 4 to it. And now it says 10, so all that is great. We'll go back here to see the other forms it can use. So again, question mark nums equals, and then we can give it a square bracket 1, 2, 3, like that. And again, it says sum 6. So now our thing is live. So I'm just going to clean up what's going on Cloud9. I'm going to leave those settings. I don't need the pipeline. So this was the merge request, but we ended up actually not changing any of the code. All we did was set those two variables. So normally there would have been a change in the code because that part of the continuous integration script would not be there. We would have added it right here, but because I copied it from a working project, it was already there. So I'm just going to close this merge request to say that it's done. Nobody needs to deal with it anymore. Okay. And then actually I might edit it here. Just take it like that, but it's already closed, so it shouldn't cause, actually, oh, there we go. We can just delete it. Good, because we don't need this merge request, because there's no changes to the code. Okay, create new merge request, great. So let's go back to the issues, and we can close this issue directly. And then I think I actually made a tiny, tiny bit of mess in the code base. So I'll fix that too. All right, so we'll just say that resolves, what is it? Number 4. Number 4. Okay, and we added these variables to CI cd environment environment. There we go. That's why I left this tab open. The Heroku API key was one of them. And the other one was the Heroku application address for production. Like that. Okay, do any of these quick actions do what I want them to do? I'm just going to take a quick peek. We don't need that anymore. Okay, done. That's for to-dos though. /close. Okay, that's the one I want. /close. So I'll just throw that at the bottom, and that will, when I make this comment, it will close the issue for me. Close this issue. Or I could have clicked comment and close this issue. So let's do both. There we go. So that's fixed. But let's see the mess that I have left because of that branch that was created. So we were working on, okay, and then I'm going to do a git pull prune. Okay, everything's up to date. Git log g. So I've still got this branch floating around on the remote server, and I want to get rid of it. So we'll try to do that. So let's do, the way you would do that, I believe, is a git push -d, and then you give the name of the branch you want to delete. And I've got quite a bit. The lag is starting to show up. There we go. All right, I hope this is the right command. Delete doesn't make sense without any refs. Okay, looks like I was supposed to leave origin there. Nope, looks like it needs a space. There we go. So it deleted that on the remote. I don't know if it deleted it locally as well. Let's take a look. No, I still have it locally, but it's not on the remote server anymore. So we'll do a git branch -d for branch number 4. Okay, and then we'll do a git log g. All right, now everything is cleaned up. So my head is at my master, which is the same as the origins master right there. And it says that is still just this merging of merge request or branch number 3, because that fixed number 3. There's no commit for number 4 because there was no code base change. It was just setting some variables. Okay. Does anybody have any questions about what we just did there? Nope. All right, so that's the workflow that makes sense with GitLab, and you can adopt it into GitHub as well. Create your issue, create your branch to do the work on it, go make your changes, push it, the continuous integration tool will run, make sure it's all okay. Then when you're convinced it's ready, and after the continuous well, you could even do it before, you mark the branch as no longer work in progress, and then you can go back to the issue and have a look at it. Okay, let's just see the list of all of them so we can check out their history again. We'll just grab the number 3. And the continuous integration run of the branch 3 should be visible on the merge request. Okay. Related merge requests, it's in there. You can see it's got the little green check mark, which means it's passed its continuous integration step. And we can also see that on the merge request if we go there. And then, you have your discussion about whether this should be the fix, or you do it on the merge request or whatever, and then it's all good. And now we've just pushed this into production. So all of you actually should be able to access this URL and use this amazing web application that we created, or that I created, to add a bunch of numbers together. So it is actually live. Okay. All right. So if that's that, I propose we take a break because we're going to start a new topic. And it might as well be a 15-minute break. So we'll resume at 3. I'm going to stop this stream and start another one because I noticed the previous stream was 4 hours because that's how long we have together. But for the longest time on YouTube, I could only access the last 2 hours. I don't know if that ever got resolved or if it's still only the last 2 hours from that stream, or if it just took a really long time to make the rest of it available. So I'll stop this stream now so that the streams are shorter and they should appear on YouTube faster. And we'll resume at 3 p.m. Okay, 3 p.m. I'll see you then. And there will be a new URL. I'll post it on D2L.